Good evening and welcome to the midweek cast of KMCV News. I'm Glenn Wakai.
And I'm Nanette Miranda. Thanks for joining us this evening. We'll have weather and sports later on in the newscast. But first, our top story. Fiscal year 1994 is fast approaching and no word yet on when a budget for 1993 will be passed. Negotiations between conferees working on it are still at a standstill. The committee again did not meet today for the second day in a row, despite promises to work in marathon sessions to iron things out. Meanwhile, government entities waiting for their disbursements are feeling the pinch. College President Agnes McPheeters, for instance, has said that the school won't be able to pay for its salaries after the end of this month, and Governor Larry Guerrero sympathizes.
And that's why everybody needs the budget, because the budget is basically would alleviate the situations or the problem where they have.
The conferees can't seem to work out a compromise budget because there is less money available this year. The Commonwealth did not raise as much revenue as projected, thus a deficit. And the conferees, among other issues, disagree on how to handle the shortfall, especially how much of the pie each island has to contribute in retiring the deficit. Today, the governor says the burden of the deficit should lie on everyone's shoulder.
The deficit should be shared equitable to all in the entire Commonwealth. Now we have to work in how we can address the deficit in trying to save some of the so-called unnecessary expenditures, so we can save that, and lapses of fund that we can save it from it, so we can retire the deficit. This is how we're going to address, and this is how they should address it. So retiring the deficit means it's the entire Commonwealth. It's not only Saipan, it's not only Tinian, and it's not only Rota.
When the conference committee will meet again is not known. However, a press conference on the budget is scheduled tomorrow at the legislature.
In just over 3 months, residents will be going to the polls to vote candidates into or out of office. Last night, Sinamay Democrats got the ball rolling with a gathering in Garapan. Democratic politicians, past, present, and possibly the future, came together for the unveiling of their headquarters. It was a social event bringing together candidates and precinct officials. It might be called a soft opening to kick off the campaign season. The Democrats have 21 candidates vying for every position up for grabs in this November's elections. They feel the opportunity for change is ripe. Chairman of the Democratic Party, Dr. Carlos Camacho, says current leaders have bungled the CNMI's future.
It's mismanagement of our resources, and that's why we have to change the administration.
Camacho says Republicans have pushed special interests, while Democrats represent the common people.
The current administration is really not representative of the people. They are only representative of a few select elite group, you might say, and we feel that is not right. I think the people should be represented to the full extent of what they were placed in office.
It's really important to put in the right individual that will lead us, help our island, because at this point in time our island is in trouble.
The Democrats plan to hammer Republicans on the strained relationship between the Commonwealth and the U.S. Congress. The sagging economy will also be the focus for many candidates. Al Santos is tired of seeing yearly delays in the passage of the CNMI budget. He's running for the House of Representatives and says reforms are needed.
90 days after the end of the fiscal year, if the legislature does not pass the budget, then the version of the governor's office should automatically become effective. That, in essence, will force our legislators to negotiate, compromise, and try to come up with the budget on time.
Santos would also like to see a multi-year budget so that government services won't be in jeopardy on an annual basis. Camacho says the Democrats are united and are poised to follow in the footsteps of last year's sweeping changes on the national scene.
Democratic President, Democratic Senate, Democratic House. What else? Democrat here in the Northern Marianas, Viva Democratic Party!
Meanwhile, the CNMI Republican Party will hold a general membership meeting this Saturday at 7 o'clock at the Carolinian Ute. The general election will take place on November 6th.
A bill allowing former government officials to make more money is in front of the governor. The appropriation for the increase would come out of the retirement fund. But as Lauren Harrison reports, the retirement fund is against the legislation.
The Northern Mariana Islands Retirement Fund is urging Governor Lorenzo de Leon Guerrero to veto House Bill 8-161. If passed, the bill would impose a 3% increase in benefits to former members of the Municipal Council, the Marianas District Legislature, and District Commissioners. Thomas B. Alden, Retirement Fund Administrator, sent a letter to the governor giving reasons why he should veto the bill. He feels that the bill is unfair.
Municipal councils services prior to 1978 and essentially back prior to April 1st of 1975 were part-time services. And during those years, the fund is non-existent and there's no contributions made. Now, why should we pay an additional benefit for those services?
Alden also feels that the bill is discriminatory because all contributing members should receive the same benefits.
You know, in a pension program where contributions is set for all members, whether you're elected or non-elected, as long as you're a member of the fund, we are all contributing the same amount of gross salary. As a Class 2, you contribute 9%. An elected Class 2 is also contributing 9%. So why should the elected get a better benefit than a non-elected member when you're paying this for the same?
And finally, he finds it ironic that the government wants to raise the taxes, but they can still provide special benefits to certain people. When we spoke to Governor Guerrero, he said that he needs to review the bill before making any decisions.
I have not seen it myself. There will be time for me to evaluate the merits and demerit of the bill. I know that some oppositions already from the retirement office requesting the governor, of course, to veto it. As I said, an assessment requires, evaluation requires, and if we found merit to the bills, perhaps that may, but if we know that it's a detrimental bill, then we have to veto it.
By law, the governor has 40 days to sign or veto the bill.
In court news today, a former accountant of the Nico Hotel pleaded guilty this morning to forging a check which belonged to the resort. In doing so, Leila Tamba is ordered to leave the Commonwealth by this weekend. Tamba had changed a $4,200 draft written to a local business to her name. She then proceeded to deposit $3,000 of it to her account and kept $1,200 in cash. By entering a plea agreement with the government, Tamba's 5-year jail sentence is suspended on the condition that she be deported and never come back. According to Assistant Public Defender David Juarez, Tamba has paid back all the money to the hotel.
Coming up next, more power to the disabled. A local lawmaker is asking for the CUC to hook them up for free.
And the community gathers for a mass at the American Memorial Park. Stay tuned. Whether the United States Congress will grant the NMI at 702 funding agreement is still up in the air. While leaders here are anxious to see what effect last week's damaging New York Times article had, 702 is currently being reviewed by a Reconciliation Committee. Governor Larry Guerrero hopes those committee members do not look at the labor allegations as part of 702.
I hope that they could reconsider some of the position they've taken against putting the garment issue over the 702, because the 702 is basically an infrastructure's funding that requires here by the CNMI. As far as the garment, I hope they can address that issue, because we're addressing it on a separate ways in trying to correct the situations as everybody is concerned.
The governor's surprise visit to various garment factories in Saipan is still in the planning stages. He says this is the only way to get to the bottom of the truth.
Meanwhile, it was a somber evening. Many people were at the American Memorial Park last night to give thanks to soldiers that fought and lost their lives in the Vietnam War. Families of soldiers who had never returned and those that wanted to show their appreciation attended the Mass and Rosary. Governor Lorenzo de Leon Guerrero expressed his thanks to the government, the community, and especially the families who lost their loved ones in the war. He presented a plaque of appreciation to John Devitt, the Vietnam veteran responsible for bringing the big Vietnam Memorial Wall to the CNMI.
On behalf of the people of the Commonwealth and the officials of our government, and especially to the families of the late soldiers who died during the Vietnam War, we are very pleased and honored to present you the Certificate of Appreciations,
which is issued by the office of the governor and the lieutenant governor. And we thank you very much.
The wall was packed up this morning and left Saipan early this afternoon.
The walls for the handicapped are also coming down. It's been called Civil Rights for the Disabled. The Americans with Disabilities Act provides changes which benefit those with handicaps. Businesses and government agencies need to make an honest effort to remove all barriers which do not meet the ADA accessibility guidelines. ADA project coordinator Thomas Camacho says that as of January 1993, the law has new requirements.
What it says that all new construction shall be usable and accessible to people with disabilities. So whatever the ADA accessibility guideline requires, those are the guidelines and those are the construction design that must be conformed with.
Camacho says those discriminating against the disabled could face federal prosecution and a minimum penalty of $50,000. And more changes for the disabled are on the way. Physical or mental impairments often make it difficult for the handicapped to sustain jobs that meet all their financial obligations. Many have a difficult time paying the hookup charges to the Commonwealth Utilities Corporation. Representative Francisco Flores plans to introduce a bill to assist the disabled.
I hope that CUC would realize that there's a lot of handicaps and disabled people in the Commonwealth, that they don't have the money to pay for the application fee, the power hookups. I believe that CUC should charge individuals for once the power is hooked up and the meter is consuming power.
Flores feels the CUC can recoup the hookup charges through its monthly billing.
Meanwhile, many residents will be without utilities in a few days. The Commonwealth Utilities Corporation advises the public of a power outage this Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Affected areas will include Lower Base, Gualarai, Chalan Lao Lao, San Jose, Susupi, and sections of Chalan Canoa. Water and sewer services in these areas will also be affected. The reason for the outage is for CUC to work on line extensions from feeder number 1. And if you're planning to go swimming or fishing before this weekend's outage, you don't want to do it in the following areas, or a handful of areas. The Department of Environmental Quality has issued its weekly water report. The study found excessive concentration of fecal coliform bacteria in the following locations: Micro Beach, the Daiichi Hotel, Hopwood School Beach, the Half a Day Hotel, San Antonio Lift Station, and Chalan Canoa District 4 Lally Beach. The increase in this week's listing may be due to runoff from recent showers. The public is asked to stay at least 300 feet from the contaminated areas. And joining us now is Longshot Willie with a busy day at the Little League ballpark as usual.
That's right, a lot of baseball action. And in basketball, with 3 championships under their belt, the Chicago Bulls get even stronger. And the CNMI Little Leaguers are in a league of their own, winning their 3rd straight. Stars were back in action in the Far East tournament. They played the Philippines, beating them 10 runs to 1. The first game had Taiwan against Korea. Let's check the action in Susupe. Taiwan versus Korea was the first game, with the team captain Lu Ming-chuan pitching for the Taiwan team. He had 5 strikeouts and a 3-run home run in the 3rd inning, which brought the lead up to 9 runs to 0. In the 4th inning, Taiwan scored 9 more runs to end the game 18-0. It was a no-hitter for Taiwan again. Tomorrow they will have their day off. In the second game, Joe Flores of CNMI makes a sacrifice fly to bring a runner in for the first score against the Philippines in the 3rd inning. In that same inning, Wilton Nicotels hits a solo home run for the first home run for the day. Richard Zendueta also hit a 3-run home run in the 4th inning. CNMI's pitcher was Joshua Munia, who had 8 strikeouts for the day and gave up only 1 run. Mike Uggan was the slugger for today. He hit 2 home runs, with this one being a 2-run homer. The hottest batter for CNMI is June Joyner, who is batting .750, hits another home run for the tournament. He has hit a home run in every game, including a grand slam. Tomorrow, CNMI will be playing Korea at 9 a.m. In the 3rd game for the day, the matchup was between Indonesia and Hong Kong. Hong Kong had 10 hits to win the game 9-0. Indonesia is still winless, while Hong Kong had 2 wins under their belt and 2 losses. In the final game between Guam and Japan, the All-Stars from Guam broke their slump as they hit 2 home runs. First baseman Lorenzo cut the lead. Sadawa Lorenzo hit the first solo home run to cut the lead to 1. Then shortstop Jason Mendiola hit a 2-run home run to take the lead in the second inning, 3 runs to 2. In the third inning, both teams scored a run each, with Guam still leading by 1. But then Japan's hitters came out to play, with the final score Japan 21, Guam 8. The Northern Mariana Island Tennis Association will be having its monthly meeting on Monday, 11:30 a.m., August 2nd at Poon's Restaurant. On the agenda will be the 10th annual Bud Light Classic Tennis Tournament, the Junior Tennis Program, and the Peter Boerwasch International Tennis Show. In other sports, the Saipan Fishermen's Sports Association is sponsoring its 9th annual fishing tournament on August 7th and 8th. The Office of Boating Safety are advising participants to follow the boating safety rules, which are all boat registration must be current, registration cards must be laminated and on the vessel, have sufficient personal flotation device on board, functional radios on board at all times, lighting equipment must be operational, must have ABC-type fire extinguishers, must also have visual distress signal devices and sound-producing devices such as whistles or horn. And finally, boat operators should refrain from consuming alcoholic beverages.
Welcome back. Sunny skies are beginning to dry up mud puddles again, and this sure is not a good news for some of us who need water, but expect a little this evening. For tonight, the forecast calls for mostly cloudy skies with widely scattered light showers, winds easterly 5 to 10 miles per hour, and the low temperature in the mid-70s. Moving to our regional temperatures, we posted a daytime reading of 84 degrees under sunny skies. Rota, Tinian, along with Palau, Yap, and Guam, 04 top with the same temp, or 05 top with the same temp of 83 degrees. Panapei's temperature was 86, and Chuk today posted a daytime high of 85 degrees under cloudy skies. And in the Pacific, Manila was under cloud covered with 79. Honolulu posted 78 under sunny skies. Hong Kong's temperature was 86. Tokyo was in the upper 80s, so had mostly cloudy skies with 77. Taipei was 84, and down at Sydney, Australia, the temperature was 54 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Seas tonight will be slight to moderate, 2 to 4 feet. Surf conditions 3 to 5 feet on northeastern clockwise through southern exposures, and 1 to 3 feet elsewhere. Our first light this evening will take place up at 9:28 with a low of 1.6 feet, and the next tide will occur at 2:55 early tomorrow morning with a high tide of 2.3 feet. The sun will set at 6:50, and sunrise tomorrow morning will be as early as 6:05. And for tomorrow's forecast, expect the same we had today under mostly cloudy skies with isolated afternoon showers, winds easterly 10 to 15 miles per hour, and the high temperature in the upper 80s. And that's all for our weather report.
Sounds like pretty good weather for tomorrow. That means day 5 of the Far East Little League game might be good. Any good games tomorrow?
That's right. CNMI will be playing Korea. Korea lost today, but that's going to be CNMI was starting to play all the top teams start all the rest of the week now.
All right. Good luck to CNMI team. Be sure to stay tuned for the John Anderson Show at 7 o'clock. John's guest tonight will be eye specialist Dr. Leroy Vaughn. Be sure to call in with your questions and comments, and I'd sure like to know if he has any answers to not wearing contacts and glasses, because I can't see. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Good night.
Good night.
Yes.